everybody, and welcome to another 3-man and a Proptech baby. And today we have OPENBRIX, a new product line, an automated pre-tenancy process called OpenFlow. So hot out of the OPENBRIX labs. And first of all, sorry, gents, just whistled past you there, which of course I can't do. Mr. Paul Morgan, how are you? You okay, sir?
Hello, very good, thank you. How are you?
Good, exceptional. And Mr. Richard Durant, how are you?
Very well, thank you. Excited for this one. Letting's been my bag, and I haven't seen this video yet, so keen to see.
You watch me blag my way through this. Don't be fooled by those 122 endorsements for lettings on LinkedIn that I have. Anyway, let's okay, so what do we know about this? So first of all, let's summarize again. What do we know about OPENBRIX? OPENBRIX are the blockchain portal, aren't they? They have a number of kind of affiliated sort of revenue earning opportunities with that platform. I know the blockchain, as I understand it, makes it extra secure, actually much more efficient. So we're still waiting in lots of other areas, aren't we, Paul? As far as I understand it, lots of other industries starting to see the benefits of blockchain. But I think it's fair to say that OPENBRIX are the main proponents of that in our industry at the moment, aren't they?
Them and Code You, yeah.
Code You. Okay, cool. Okay, so okay, well, let's have a look. So what do we have here today?
I'll share the video. Can you all see that?
Got that? Yeah. Lovely.
Cool. Right, I'm going to press play.
Okay. So this is OpenFlow.
Hello, my name is Adam Piggott. I'm the CEO of OPENBRIX, and I want to talk to you about a new product we've just released called OpenFlow. OpenFlow is the next generation of tenancy onboarding tool, and I'm going to rush through just quickly explain to you what it does and why it's different. Principally, this is a demo site. So the agent here is Jack Barkley. Oh, he just disappeared. Jack Barkley is there. And what's different about this is it interacts in real time with a tenant app, which I'll explain in more detail as we go. I'm going to crack straight into this. The system's very intuitive. An agent would click in here, and by starting a new flow, they simply click on this. It asks you to fill in the agent's name and email address and any other details you've got. But if that's all you've got, that's all we need. The system then instructs the tenant how to perform their right to rent by using government-grade facial recognition. It's all linked to the passport office. And by the time they've done that, the system then onboards the tenant to the right property, and you're ready.
That's pretty cool, isn't it? It links through to the passport office. I wonder if they need to have a photo of the tenant in order for that to work.
Look, if that's streamlining the process, and it is, what do they say, government approved, government strength there, that's pretty standout impressive, isn't it? Anything to make that process better.
It's also quite nice that they do it right at the beginning of the process, because you're not wasting any time getting to the end stage where, for whatever reason, you can't pass that sort of tenant ID stage. It's just doing it straight off, isn't it?
Yeah. What I wonder happens if the tenant doesn't have a passport or doesn't drive.
Not linked to it. If it can't link back to the passport, you mean at the passport office?
Yeah, it doesn't have a passport, doesn't drive. You know, there's plenty of people in that situation, aren't there? I wonder what the workaround is. I guess that's a question for OPENBRIX.
Yeah, and can't you provide your prison release letter and your gun license? Isn't that two of the meeting criteria to pass? Well, I'm sure it is.
They sound ideal.
I'll just press play.
Okay.
Ready to go. So I've already done one because I want to show you every aspect of this as quickly as I can. This is the OpenFlow. Now you'll note all of these little boxes are saying complete, but if you were to start this, the only ones that would show complete would be the tenant and the landlord and property documentation. So your tenant's already been onboarded. There is Bruce Wayne, your tenant, aka Batman. There's all his details here. The system has loaded that for you, and they have verified him. Going back, the next section, which is key, so that's 1/3 of it, is the landlord and property. Now your property documentation there, the picture of the real property would appear here. And I put myself in as a landlord, and there I am there I've now been onboarded as well as the property, as well as the tenant. But very importantly, depending on what CRM I have, my gas certificate, my EPC, my EICR, my PAT test, and any license agreement I need, which I can check here, by the way, we'll link in with the local authority. But all of that information arrives here, and if you don't have it, of course, you can buy it by simply going in and clicking what you need.
Paul, can you just pause it for one moment?
At this stage,
often, obviously, we see these blinds, so we have a number of questions. So a question I have for Adam is on that landlord onboarding process. Is it automated? Does it go to the landlord? But also, I'd be keen to see what documentation is required from a landlord, because dependent on where you are, you'll obviously have AML checks, you might want to do proof of ownership checks, and it'd be interesting to see what process the landlord goes through and what agents can ask for.
Yeah, I think that's good to know. I also quite liked, or rather had a question around the bit about the buy, because I noticed on there there's a plus and a minus against the cost. So I wonder if that allows an agent to add on their commission, or their sort of little cut on top of the, say, gas safety certificate charge and things like that. So therefore, it's a bit of a revenue stream for the agent.
And as usual, it's left to me to ask the difficult questions. Did anyone hear the background grumble there? I thought one of you had not had their lunch. So do tell me I'm not going mad when it starts up again. But on a more serious note, and more obviously train spottery for my obviously previous background, he makes a very quick point there, but one that I think will be very important to a lot of people. He talks about the CRM integration. Clearly, there's anything you can do to stop the rekeying of information, and obviously having that flow of information between your CRM and obviously a system like this can be really beneficial, can't it? So it'll be really interesting to understand from the OPENBRIX team, who those integrations are. Or of course, guys, feel free to reach out to them and find out if your CRM system is included itself.
Yep.
We can move on because you've got the tenant, the landlord, and the property all registered with all the right documentation. So you would then go on, and the first real bit of work that the agent has to do here, and it's really limited, is an offer page. Now, again, I've just filled this in to speed it up, but there's nothing that's going to scare anyone. The amount of rental that's been agreed, how frequent it's going to be paid, what day of the month it's going to be paid. It's worked out the 5-week deposit total. You then just fill in whether or not there's an initial payment. Of course, there is an initial payment, but whether it's for an apportioned period or just a month, the calendar month. I put it down as calendar month. You add in what responsibilities the tenant has to do. These are all pre-ticked here, but you can untick them. You've got full control over them. And if you want a break clause or any form of special clauses or common conditions, as we call them, there's a range of them here. You can pick up the one you want and edit it if that's what you want, or you can add in fresh clauses here. I've put a standard break clause in, and I've made one up here about not making damage to hall flooring, just to show you later. You click whether the property is furnished or unfurnished. You select which scheme, tenancy deposit scheme you're going to use. I've selected the TDS. The prescribed information appears here, and at this point you would have a button here. Instead of saying update offer, it would say send offer. You click that. This green section here would actually be red, and it would say that the offer has been sent to Bruce Wayne on a date and time stamp. Now, if we then go to what Bruce would see, Bruce will get a welcome email explaining what's going on. Now, this is 100% complete, but it would be saying it's 50%, 15% complete, or 18% complete. He would go straight to the rental offer where there would be an action required. He'd get a notification, as you can see at the top of the screen. And all his information is here. This is what's being proposed. He can see what his responsibilities are, and he can see any special conditions. But ultimately, he would go on here and click offer accepted.
Just a really quick point, and just remind me, he did say at the outset that it was an actual app rather than a web optimized, just a web optimized page, isn't it? Is that right? I thought he did. I'll tell you the reason why. You know, where he's talking there about obviously getting onto the mobile devices and your personal devices is absolutely critical and useful, isn't it? But also, as well as we know, your inbox is so flooded these days that to be able to use native notifications of, whether it's an Apple device or whether it's an Android device. So it's literally popping up on the screen. It could be very beneficial, couldn't it?
Well, that looks like it's a browser, but browsers can send notifications as well. So it could be a browser notification. Because, for example, you go to some websites and say, do you want notifications? Yes, no.
Okay.
So yeah, notification not dependent on technology.
But that'd be nice, wouldn't it? If you can have that kind of notification on a mobile device, you've got a much better chance of this stuff being seen and actioned. Yeah,
notifications definitely, yeah.
Notifications are definitely a way forward, isn't it? It's the only way you're getting attention. Also, just going back to what we can see on the screen now, without going into too much detail about it, my experience is the majority of challenges at the beginning of a tenancy are down to miscommunication or misunderstanding. Often when a tenant or an applicant views a property, there's an existing tenant in situ, and as such, some of the furniture will be theirs, some of it will be the landlord's, what's included, and there can also always be a miscommunication. So the fact that the offer is clearly defined before you start the process is nice.
And this would then ping back, and at this point you would see that this had gone green and that the offer has been accepted and date and stamped it.
I wonder if the branch get a notification then, because you wouldn't want to keep looking at that page every day just to see if the box had gone green, would you? Must give a notification to the agent. Question to ask.
Yeah.
So you're then you could mark that as complete there and then move on. Now the next two stages are really simple. You can take a holding deposit if you wish. I've already done it. I won't go through that process again because we'll go through paying the initial monies, but it's all calculated in there. Very importantly, you want to check that this guy's real. So you can view Bruce Wayne. You can see what information he has here. Now, the fact is, this little green flag means it's been verified by Yoti via the Government Passport Office. And you can see what information here that's been included. Now, this will be his passport. I've just stuck on a fake driving license. But if there were any other documentation here, whether it be a visa, this would appear here. And it's just great for you to know that this has been verified. You can see a little flag here saying he's been verified. And then you can start the referencing. We've linked with FCC Paragon for a very new, innovative digital smart reference. It's £5 per tenant. It's 32 pages of data. It's done in real time. As each piece of information comes, it appears here. And it will also appear on the tenant app as well on T-Life, so that the consumer, the tenant, can see what information is coming in on him. And he won't have to phone you because it's there. He can have a live update in real time as it goes.
Paul, can you pause that?
This is very, very clever.
Avoiding getting into a conversation about FCC Paragon and referencing quality, etc., because I don't know. £5 for a full reference, 32-page reference, seems very attractive, in my opinion.
It's as low as there is out there, isn't there? Unless you're talking corporates.
I believe so.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, I can't say.
If the references come back and a guarantor is required, then this information, you fill this information here or ask the tenant to do it. And again, it arrives back on your screen. But very importantly, this smart digital reference for £5 a tenant is strong enough. As I said, there are 32 pages of data here. It's strong enough to support a standard warranty by FCC Paragon. So the prices haven't been inflated to cover this. It's a standard cost of a warranty. It's new to the market. It's great. We hope it goes down really well. But once you've got your references in and you're happy, you then move on to perhaps the next bit, which would be the tenancy agreement. Now, this takes about, I think it takes 0.35 of a second to do the tenancy agreement. As you can see, the tenants here, the landlords here, the properties here, the break clauses are here. You would just choose which contract you want, whether it's an AST or a non-housing act. It would then appear here with the prescribed information. And then when you would get to choose how to rent, documentation is all here. You would then choose which way you wanted to do this. If it was e-signature, then it gets facial recognition again, and when they press sign, their face is being recognized. It's being verified by the Government Passport Office. Very, very accurate. It's brilliant. It's accepted in 168 different countries. But if you wanted to do the old-fashioned way and you just wanted to send it by email, you would then get to see who got sent what and when. And you can upload your own tenancy agreement if that's what you needed to do. We then really move to the final bit, which is paying the monies, and everything else after that happens automatically. You go to your system here, you see the total amount of money, you can see the holding deposit's been paid, what the initial rental payment is, you can see the balance that's being requested, and again you would say here, instead of update, it would say send request for payment. You'd click on that, this would go red, it would appear as an action on the tenant's app. He would go down to the move-in. He would click on that and he would see that he's got monies to pay. Now he's already paid this, but he would click that button confirmed and it would link with his Auto system and pay this directly from his bank account directly into your bank account. Very clever, very quick, very slick. This thing, the documentation takes about 4 minutes to do it all, to do a whole tenancy agreement, all the certification, all the prescribed information is done. You can organize your inventory on here. You can organize all your referencing. And when it comes to the deposit protection, that's something you have to do. You would upload your certificate and that's it. And the best bit is the utility setup, a chance for you to earn referral fees, all happens because he'll get an action here on his home setup. He would go in, have a look at his home setup, and we've selected Homebox here, but we're working with Home Telecom, part of the Global 4 group. They would appear here as well if that's who you'd selected on your setup. So it's very good, and what they do is they make all the connections for you. They're alerted the moment the rental offer is accepted, so they get going really quickly on this. They'll make phone calls to make certain that all the connections are ready in time for the tenant move-in, and the best bit is that you get paid very healthy referral fees. So look, that's basically it. That's how this all works. I should just remind you that not only does the tenant get this sort of slick move-in process, but they get an immutable validated record of their rent payments every month on the system, on the blockchain. So it's their data, they get to keep it. Why shouldn't they? You get to see your mortgage statement. Tenants should have the same thing with a rental statement. And the best bit is the tenants have the option to have those rental payments read by Equifax. And therefore, for the first time in the UK, and you can quote me on this, paying your rental on time will allow the tenant to increase their credit score. Not just influence their credit history, increase their credit score. There's a big difference. And I'm very delighted to report that that's now up and running, and we're delighted. So look, that's OpenFlow. Please contact me at adam@openbrix.co.uk. If you've got any questions, I can give you a demo, come around to
your contact him through kerfuffle
offices and show you. I hope you've enjoyed it. Many thanks.
Okay, so he's hit us with a bit of a Steve Jobs one more thing there, or two more things there right at the end, isn't it? Two of what you'd have to say, I think one of the biggest factors. You've got the ability to earn commission, so any agents obviously that aren't earning utility income, this is a nice easy way of benefiting it from by just working the process anyway. And then secondly, that point there right at the end, I can see in the right hands that being quite a useful tool, couldn't it, to be actually give tenants the right to increase their credit rating, which of course is vital in every stage of your life these days.
Yeah, I think for a valuation pitch to a landlord, for you to say that, you know, we're giving our tenants the ability to influence their credit score through their payments, means that we're going to win good tenants, and therefore you're less likely to miss out on rent. And for your tenants pitch, you know, you tell them about that. You say, we build up all these scores, so in future we can help you with your mortgages, and therefore an agent has got a better chance of winning future mortgage business from your current tenants. There'll be more to it as well. Richard will have some ideas as well.
Come on,
Yeah,
Mr. Suspicious, Mr. Devil's Advocate.
No, I think it's good. There's a couple of points before that which I noted, which is, agents have a challenge. Most agents will send a how to rent guide, prescribed information, etc., and more often than not, it's printed off and given out on move-in, and they sign a letter to say they've received it or not. But the fact that this timestamps and documents that it's been sent, I think, just removes a slight issue from agents. On that final point, I think that as agents, if we're looking at customers four-dimensional, you've got your vendor who's also potentially a buyer and a landlord or a tenant, whatever it may be, anything you can do which improves the tenant's experience or the tenant's opinion of you as a business can only be a win-win. And I think that credit score, what I'd be really interested to know is, whilst Adam mentioned that the tenants can ask for it, I'd like to know a bit more information about that, and if you're notified that they don't want to, etc. And whilst I understand that it can impact them positively, I'd be really keen to find out if it also impacted them negatively. So, if you don't pay your credit card payment, it's going down on your credit file. However, generally the case in lettings is, unless you're taking somebody to court and then pursuing them for the money afterwards, a missed rent payment or a couple of missed rent payment has no negative impact on your credit score whatsoever. All of a sudden, if, hence the question to Adam, if this could also impact them negatively, it puts the agent in a lot stronger position.
That's really interesting. Well, Adam, if you can give us feedback on that, obviously, that'd be really interesting to get the full view of that. But there's some interesting connotations there, isn't there, in terms of what this increased accessibility, this plugging into these different things has to play.
Yeah, I wonder if you're an agent and a lettings applicant comes along and they've got one of these histories, and the history isn't good. They've missed out on 5 or 6 rent payments over a year. Would that would definitely have an impact on whether you want to give that property to that person, wouldn't it? Whereas in the past, the only way you would have known that would have been relying on a reference from the landlord. This gives you the actual data, but then the data is owned by the tenants. Would they want to give it to you? There's lots of questions around this, aren't there? I think it's a really interesting proposition, and I think for people, tenants who want to play by the rules, it's a great product for them. And the fact that you're attracting tenants who want to play by the rules is a great landlord winner. All our questions around what about the people who don't play by the rules, aren't they?
Yeah, and that's a very small part, isn't it? Dependent on what part of the country you're in, it's less than 2% of the tenants who don't pay their rent, but this could improve that from an agent's point, potentially.
Okay, so any other questions? Let me just answer the question. We always try to tap into this. What sort of agent is going to benefit from this most? I mentioned there, if they're not doing utilities, there's an obvious tick in the box there, isn't there? If they're not making money from it. What else?
I think from my point, and it's becoming a bit of a recurring statement, but my firm belief, as anybody will know, is if you're choosing a technology partner, it's got to improve the consumer experience.
Yep.
And I think it ticks a box for the tenant. Improves the user experience. And if the agent isn't having to manually do lots of those jobs, that's a tick, and improves efficiency. So it kind of ticks, we've got lots of questions around it, but ultimately it provides a 3 big ticks for me on why you should choose a technology.
Yeah. It'd be really interesting to understand what the overall aim and strategy, because obviously, as we said, is we got to know these guys because they're a portal. They've added MLS functionality in there, obviously the ability to earn revenue streams in other places as well. And now this kind of fitting into the kit bag, just in terms of what they see themselves being, whether they see themselves being or where they're going to go with this. Are they looking at niches that they feel aren't being served well, which is perfectly, or is there an overall strategy as well that they're heading towards? But then Adam would probably have to kill us to tell us, wouldn't he? But you get where I'm coming from with that, isn't it? They are adding different product lines and services there that, on the face of it, you know, obviously are hitting particularly niche areas.
Yeah,
we're all around data capture there.
Data capture and blockchain. So is that all of a sudden tenants' histories on the blockchain, which everybody can see? And is there a sort of, once it's gained momentum and you've got a huge database of tenants, does that become, you know, an agent rather than referencing? The initial stage could be they've got history of all of those rental payments, and would they accept that? So it all seems to be focused on the same data play.
Cool. Okay, guys. So overall, we'd like to find some further information, but that's another interesting update from the OPENBRIX team.
Definitely.
It's a great solution for the right agent, but it's not a solution for every agent, in my view.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. Yeah, cool. Okay, guys. Well, thank you very much for your input as ever, honest as ever, and we'll keep an eye on this. It'll be really interesting to see when people are using it actively, won't it? So, Adam, keep us updated as and when more and more agents come on board.
Yeah, I'd be keen to get a response of Adam of all of those questions, because I think once we've got responses to those questions, it gives a bit more. It makes this review a bit more meaningful because the questions will be answered.
Great, guys. Have a great one. Thank you very much for your input.
Thanks, Simon.
Cheerio.
Cheers.
Bye.
Everyone's kerfuffling.